The fluorescent lights hummed quietly overhead as Bill Gates pushed his shopping cart through the aisles of Wilson's Market, a modest supermarket in a Seattle suburb. It was a Tuesday afternoon in late autumn, and the store was relatively empty. He decided to make a quick stop while his driver waited outside. Sometimes even billionaires needed to pick up their own groceries, if only to stay grounded in reality. Bill had spent the morning in intense meetings about global health initiatives, and now he found himself oddly at peace among the ordinary shoppers, examining produce and reading nutrition labels like everyone else. He wore his characteristic sweater and khakis, and without his usual entourage, he blended in surprisingly well with the other customers. Sarah Chen had been working at Wilson's Market for 3 years while pursuing her computer science degree at the University of Washington. At 24, she was already an exceptional programmer, maintaining the store's inventory system in her spare time. Her manager often joked that she was overqualified for her cashier position, but Sarah enjoyed the simplicity of the work and the interesting characters she met at her register. That afternoon, Sarah was lost in thought about her latest coding project, a sophisticated app that helped small businesses streamline their operations. The irony wasn't lost on her that she was working on it while operating a temperamental point-of-sale system running Windows XP, a relic that should have been retired years ago. As Bill approached her checkout line with a cart containing an eclectic mix of items, organic vegetables, several boxes of mac and cheese, his guilty pleasure, and a collection of scientific magazines, Sarah greeted him with her usual cheerful smile, not recognizing one of technology's most influential figures standing before her. "Find everything okay?" she asked, beginning to scan his items with practiced efficiency. "Yes, thank you," Bill replied, appreciating the normalcy of the interaction. He watched as she handled each item with care, mentally noting how the store's scanning system could be improved. The total came to $157.83, and Bill pulled out his credit card. As Sarah ran it through the reader, the screen suddenly froze, displaying the all-too-familiar hourglass cursor that had frustrated millions of Windows users over the years. "Oh, not again," Sarah sighed, tapping the screen unsuccessfully. "Sorry about this, sir. The system freezes up at least twice a day. I'll need to reboot it." Bill leaned in slightly, examining the aged monitor with a mixture of amusement and professional interest. "It's probably Windows XP," he said with a knowing smile. "It's long overdue for an upgrade." Sarah nodded vigorously while pressing the restart button. "Tell me about it. If that Gates guy ever made something that worked the first time." She trailed off, focusing on the rebooting screen, completely unaware of her customer's identity. Bill's eyes twinkled with amusement, but before he could respond, a commotion erupted at the store's entrance. A group of people burst through the automatic doors, their faces masked, moving with purposeful speed toward the customer service desk. Time seemed to slow down as Bill and Sarah both turned to watch the scene unfold, their mundane transaction suddenly interrupted by what was about to become a life-changing event. The security guard near the entrance reached for his radio, but one of the masked individuals was faster, knocking the device from his hand. The sharp sound of it clattering across the floor echoed through the suddenly silent store. Customers froze in their tracks, shopping carts abandoned mid-aisle, as the reality of the situation began to sink in. Sarah's finger hovered over the emergency button beneath her register, her heart pounding. Bill, drawing from years of experience handling crisis situations through his foundation work, remained unnaturally calm, his mind already racing through possible scenarios and solutions. What neither of them knew in that moment was that their chance encounter, a billionaire philanthropist and a brilliant young programmer, was about to trigger a series of events that would challenge everything they thought they knew about technology, human nature, and their own capabilities. The aging Windows XP system continued its slow reboot process, its blue screen casting an eerie glow on their faces as the situation at the front of the store escalated. The next few minutes would test them both in ways they never expected, and their responses would set in motion a chain of events that would ripple through the tech world for years to come. And it all started with a frozen credit card terminal in a Seattle suburb supermarket on an otherwise ordinary Tuesday afternoon.
Tell us in the comments what part of this story impressed you the most. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the world of incredible events.
The masked figures, 5 in total, moved with military precision through the store. Their leader, a tall woman in a black tactical vest, raised her hand, revealing not a weapon, but a smartphone connected to a strange device. "Ladies and gentlemen," her voice carried across the store with artificial clarity, "please remain calm. This is not a robbery. We're here for something far more valuable than money." Bill's expression shifted from concern to intrigue as screens throughout the store, checkout terminals, inventory displays, even the digital price tags, suddenly flickered in unison. The Windows XP system at Sarah's register, still rebooting, unexpectedly displayed lines of code instead of the usual startup sequence. Sarah's eyes widened. "That's impossible," she whispered, recognizing patterns in the scrolling text. "They're accessing the store's network, but these commands, they're not just hacking the store systems." Bill leaned closer, his voice low. "They're using the store's outdated infrastructure as a gateway. But to what?" He glanced at Sarah with newfound interest, impressed by her technical insight. The leader approached the customer service desk. "Your store's systems are running an early version of RetailSoft, developed by a small company before it was acquired by Microsoft. What nobody knew was that this software contained a backdoor, a digital skeleton key that could access any system running Microsoft protocols from that era." Sarah's hand moved subtly beneath the counter, not toward the emergency button, but to a USB drive concealed in her pocket. For months, she'd been developing a security patch for the store's ancient systems, a pet project born of boredom and professional pride. "Sir," she whispered to Bill, "I think I know what they're after. The store's network is connected to the city's financial district through an old interbank transfer system. Nobody bothered to disconnect it because it was considered obsolete." Bill's mind raced, connecting the dots. The outdated software, the forgotten connections, the potential access to countless systems still running legacy code, it was a digital archaeologist's dream and a security expert's nightmare. The masked woman continued her speech, but Bill was focused on Sarah, who had carefully inserted her USB drive into a hidden port. "I have a program that might help," she explained quietly, fingers flying over the keyboard. "It's designed to force update security protocols without shutting down the system." "Clever," Bill murmured, "but you'll need to modify the execution parameters to prevent the new firewall from triggering a system-wide alert." He reached for the keyboard, then hesitated, looking at Sarah. "May I?" Sarah blinked, something about his confident tone and technical knowledge finally clicking into place. She stared at him, really seeing him for the first time. Oh my God." Later, Bill smiled, his fingers already dancing across the keys. "Right now, we need to focus on the task at hand. Your code is excellent, by the way. Ever consider working for a larger tech company?" The masked group had begun connecting devices to various terminals throughout the store. Their leader was explaining something about financial algorithms and digital archaeology, but her voice faltered as the first signs of Sarah and Bill's countermeasures began to take effect. Price displays throughout the store started showing random strings of characters. The credit card terminals, one by one, initiated unexpected updates. The store's ancient speaker system crackled to life, playing an oddly familiar startup sound. The leader rushed to her equipment, frantically typing commands. No. Someone's implementing security protocols that shouldn't exist. How? She spun around, scanning the store for the source of the interference. That's when all hell broke loose. The automatic doors began opening and closing in a rhythmic pattern. The store's lights flickered in sequence, creating a strobe effect that disoriented the masked intruders. Shopping carts with electronic security wheels suddenly activated, rolling slowly but inexorably toward the store's exits. In the chaos, Bill turned to Sarah with an urgent whisper. Your security patch is brilliant, but we need to do more than just stop them. We need to understand how they found this backdoor in the first place. He paused, a familiar glint of innovation in his eyes. Would you like to help me solve a mystery that goes back to the early days of Microsoft? Sarah, her heart pounding with both fear and excitement, nodded. As the masked group scrambled to salvage their plan, she realized this ordinary Tuesday had become anything but ordinary. The real question was, what would happen when the chaos subsided, and how deep did this digital rabbit hole go? The store's systems continued their bizarre dance, the machines themselves seeming to rebel against the intruders. But even as their plan unraveled, the leader of the masked group smiled behind her mask, as if this was just one move in a much larger game. And at Register 4, a young programmer and a billionaire philanthropist prepared for a digital battle that would test not just their skills, but their understanding of how the digital world had been built, and what secrets still lurked in its foundations. As chaos reigned in the supermarket, the masked leader made an unexpected move. Instead of retreating, she walked directly toward Register 4, her confident stride suggesting she knew exactly who she was approaching. "Mr. Gates," she called out, removing her mask to reveal a familiar face that made Bill's eyes widen in recognition. "It's been a long time." "Diana Chen," Bill said softly, glancing at Sarah, who was still typing commands into the terminal. "You were one of our first programmers at Microsoft. You disappeared in '89. After you rejected my security protocols," Diana finished, her eyes shifting to Sarah. "Hello, daughter." Sarah's fingers froze over the keyboard. "Mom?" The store fell silent except for the humming of machines and the distant wail of approaching sirens. Diana Chen, brilliant programmer, former Microsoft employee, and apparently Sarah's long-lost mother, placed her device on the counter. "I never disappeared, Bill. I went underground to protect what I discovered." She turned to Sarah. "And I've been watching your career with great interest. Your security patch? It's remarkably similar to what I designed 35 years ago." Bill's mind raced through old memories. "The backdoor, you built it?" "As a safeguard," Diana explained. "I found vulnerabilities in our early systems that could have devastating consequences decades later. When you dismissed my concerns, I left the backdoor as a time bomb, proof that our foundations needed to be rebuilt." Sarah looked between her mother and Bill Gates, pieces of her own history falling into place. "The coding patterns I learned from Dad, they were yours?" Diana nodded. "Your father understood why I had to leave. Someone needed to monitor the vulnerabilities, prepare for this moment. Today's demonstration wasn't about causing chaos, it was about proving a point." Bill leaned against the counter, his expression thoughtful. "The recent series of mysterious system failures at major institutions, that was you?" Testing the waters, Diana confirmed. "Every system still running legacy code from that era is vulnerable. But thanks to Sarah's brilliant patch, which she developed independently, I might add, we now have a solution." The sirens were getting closer. Bill made a decision, pulling out his phone. "I'm calling off the police." "Diana, you could have just come to me." "Would you have listened?" Diana challenged. "The Bill Gates I knew was too focused on moving forward to look back at our foundations." "Are you different now?" Before Bill could respond, Sarah spoke up, her voice firm. "Stop. Both of you." She turned her laptop screen to show them something that made both veteran programmers lean in with surprise. "Mom, your backdoor was brilliant. Mr. Gates, your vision built the modern world. But look at what I've done with the security patch, it doesn't just fix the vulnerability. It creates a bridge between legacy systems and modern security protocols." Bill studied the code, a smile spreading across his face. "You've managed to preserve the accessibility of older systems while implementing contemporary security measures. Diana, your daughter has solved the problem we should have addressed 30 years ago." Diana placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder, pride evident in her expression. "I knew you would. That's why I chose this store, this day. You needed to meet, you needed to see the problem, and you needed to prove your solution works." The automatic doors opened one final time, admitting a group of suited individuals, Bill's security team, looking both relieved and confused to find their boss calmly discussing code at a supermarket checkout. "So," Bill said, looking between mother and daughter, "shall we discuss your future?" "Both of your futures?" Microsoft could use innovative thinkers who understand both the past and the future of computing. Sarah looked at her mother, years of questions in her eyes, then back at Bill. "I have conditions." "Of course you do," Diana laughed. "You're my daughter." "First," Sarah said, "we acknowledge and fix these vulnerabilities properly, no more secrets. Second, we create a legacy system protection division, focused on protecting older infrastructure that can't be immediately upgraded. And third..." She smiled. We finally upgrade Wilson's Market's point-of-sale system. For free. Bill extended his hand, first to Sarah, then to Diana. Deal. Though I have one condition of my own. He gestured to the still-frozen credit card terminal. Let's make sure the next version of Windows works the first time. The store manager, who had been watching the entire scene unfold from behind a display of canned vegetables, finally found his voice. Does this mean I can start ringing up customers again? They all laughed, the tension of the day dissolving. As emergency vehicles departed and customers cautiously resumed their shopping, 3 generations of programmers sat in the store's break room, sharing coffee and stories, planning the future while reconciling with the past. Sarah's register remained frozen on Windows XP for one final hour, a fitting farewell to an era of computing that had shaped all their lives in unexpected ways. And somewhere in the digital ether, beneath layers of code and protocols, a backdoor slowly closed, replaced by a bridge to the future, built by a daughter following in her mother's footsteps while blazing her own trail. The next morning, Wilson's Market opened with a brand new point-of-sale system, a reunited family began healing decades-old wounds, and Microsoft quietly launched a revolutionary project to protect the digital foundations of the modern world. All because a billionaire walked into a supermarket and a credit card terminal refused to work. Sometimes, the best solutions come from unexpected encounters, and the biggest changes start with a simple frozen screen and a moment of honest frustration. After all, in the world of technology, every bug is just an opportunity for an upgrade in disguise.
Tell us in the comments what part of this story impressed you the most. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next videos. See you in the world of incredible events.